So let's talk about the amazing progress of SpaceX with Starship at Boca Chica, because it appears that Starship and Super Heavy are ready for a launch by November. But will the FAA allow that? Because as we know, the environmental impact review is still ongoing. Then surprise, Blue Origin and Sierra Space announced plans to build a commercial space station. Wow! Normally Blue Origin is known for short suborbital flights and for suing SpaceX. This new behavior is thus a welcome change from their regular behavioral routine. So let's take a look at these commercial space station plans, shall we? Then of course we also have to talk about the bizarre developments with the NASA Artemis human landing system. Bizarre because Senate appropriators want NASA to build a second human moon lander, but they don't give NASA any money. And on top they act like angry children. And then finally, of course, we also have the SLS rocket that is now fully stacked and ready for the Artemis 1 launch in February. Wow, there's a lot to talk about this time, so stay tuned. So let's start right away with Starship, because it's just the most important space vehicle of all time. Just recently, Elon Musk tweeted that Starship will be ready for its first orbital launch attempt by next month, pending regulatory approval. So what does he mean by that? Well, he means that the Starship and Super Heavy launch system are making excellent progress, and he's confident that they could be launched sometime in November for the first orbital flight. The Starship SN20 just recently completed 2 static fire tests on October 21st. Here, both a sea level and a vacuum Raptor engine were tested simultaneously for the first time, and the static fire testing was successful, which is nice because it was the first test of a vacuum Raptor integrated on a Starship vehicle, which is quite a big thing and a really important milestone. However, some heat shield tiles popped off, but as long as it's only a few according to Elon, there isn't need for concern. So now the next thing will be a static fire campaign with SN20 and all 6 Raptor engines, 3 sea level and 3 vacuum ones, installed. Then of course the BN4 Super Heavy booster will also have to undergo some static fire testing with all 29 Raptor engines. That will be quite spectacular. Only if all these tests are successful, an orbital launch can occur. The launch tower itself also looks ready. The Mechazilla rocket catching mechanism has also been installed. When Elon tweeted months ago that SpaceX would want to catch Starships and Super Heavy boosters in mid-air, I thought that he had taken again too many drugs at the same time, or had one of his mental episodes, or both. But they are really doing it, and I'm utterly fascinated by this innovative approach to rapid reusability. So okay, Elon is optimistic for a November launch, but there is this one little small detail which Elon so euphemistically called pending regulatory approval. Because SpaceX will not be allowed to perform orbital flights without approval from the FAA. And there is currently still an environmental review going on, where the FAA will ultimately have to decide on how to proceed. We have to remember that when SpaceX started construction of the Boca Chica launch site, there was no mention of many Super Heavy launches. The original environmental impact statement from 2014 only mentions Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launches. But gradually, SpaceX has shifted to Starship and Super Heavy development. A decision which, in my opinion, was pretty clear to produce some problems down the road with local residents and with the FAA. Now, 2 public hearings were held on the issue, and there are lots of proponents of SpaceX's activities at Boca Chica, but also lots of opponents. But the public comments were more than 2-to-1 in favor of the FAA finalizing the draft programmatic environmental assessment and issuing SpaceX a launch license for the Starship orbital test flight, which is pretty good news. The opponents were mostly concerned with the natural habitat at Boca Chica. You know my stance on that, I don't have to repeat the utter importance of humanity becoming a spacefaring civilization and what will happen if we fail at this. we will be another one of those billions of civilizations in the entire universe that were too stupid to leave their home planet and thus became extinct. Just another footnote in the history of failed civilizations in the universe. So I am really sorry if I personally don't share too much concern for some bird habitats, because the Kennedy Space Center, for example, is also located in a nature habitat, and apparently people still were sent to the moon 50 years ago from that very nature habitat, very much to the dismay of some birds probably, but very much contributing to the progress of humanity. Progress cannot happen without some change to the environment. It lies in the very nature of progress. If we would want to change that, we should go back and live in caves. So I sincerely hope that the FAA will make the right decision, but as I said, it's looking good because the proponents are outnumbering the opponents 2-1. So let's see what will happen, but I'm pretty optimistic. And if you want to own your own Starship, then you should consider buying one from Bohemso. They make really excellent Starship 3D models, as we ourselves can attest, because we have a lot of models from Bohemso, as you can see here. They have all variants of Starship, the old Mk1 prototype, the regular crew version, the good old Starhopper, and of course the Starship Moonlander. But they also have Crew Dragon, Cargo Dragon, the future Dragon XL, Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy, but also Starman and lots of other models. We, for example, especially like the Apollo Command and Service Module, which is a really nice fit for our collection here. The quality of the models is excellent, and you can order these models or even some sci-fi models from famous movie franchises on Bohemso's Etsy store site, link in the description. So now from SpaceX to a company that also has a lot to do with SpaceX, because that company is just utterly obsessed with SpaceX, namely Blue Origin. And you won't believe it, but Blue Origin has announced some news, and wait for it, it's not about suing SpaceX for a change. I know, crazy, right? I was also surprised that such a thing is even possible, but it really happened. On October 25th, Blue Origin, Sierra Space, Boeing and Redwire Space announced that they will be cooperating on a commercial space station. The Orbital Reef space station will be comprised of 6 modules, some of them of the expandable type, like the good old Bigelow habitats. Oh, Bigelow Aerospace, we miss you. Attached to a center connecting cylinder module, and it will be launched in the late 2020s. But wait, what you see here is actually a later version of the space station. The initial space station that is going to be launched by the late 2020s, and let's be honest, late 2020s probably means 2029, it will be only 1/3 of the size of the space station shown in these cool animations. This baseline configuration would still be able to accommodate 10 people though, generate 100 kilowatts of power with its solar arrays, and offer 90% of the interior volume of the ISS. So it's actually not a bad space station, and I really don't want to talk badly about it, okay? It's a pretty neat space station. At least they are trying to come up with some new ideas apart from suing SpaceX, which I guess is already quite a step ahead. But I still would have wished that they would concentrate on the moon, because let's be honest, Leo is out, okay? Leo was cool 30 years ago, but now the moon would be a more interesting target. But yeah, I forgot, they can't really even reach moon orbit, so maybe reaching orbit by the late 2020s would already be a big first step. And please subscribe to this channel if you want to stay up to date on the latest developments in human spaceflight, with an additional dose of sarcastic and sometimes non-PC compliant commentary. Thanks a lot in advance. And talking about Blue Origin, we of course also have to talk about the last events with the human landing systems for the Artemis program. Because there has been a new twist in this ongoing story, where lots of people were unhappy with NASA's decision to pick SpaceX as the main contractor to build a human moonlander for the Artemis program. Apart from suing SpaceX and NASA wherever they can, Blue Origin probably also dispatched a huge army of lobbyists to Washington DC and lobbied in the Senate Appropriations Committee to get the National Team Moonlander into the race again. The Senate Appropriations Committee released on October 18th drafts of its versions of 9 appropriations bills for the fiscal year 2022, including Commerce, Justice and Science, which funds NASA. That bill offers $24.83 billion for NASA overall, slightly above the administration's request of $24.8 billion, but less than the $25.04 billion in a House bill. There are some quite juicy passages in some of these draft bills, which again confirms my bias that many politicians in that committee are utter morons. Here's for example a good one. Quote, "Given that request, NASA's rhetoric of blaming Congress and this committee for the lack of resources needed to support 2 HLS teams rings hollow." End quote. Okay, whom else should NASA blame for not getting enough money if not Congress? Huh? The guys that basically allocate the funds for NASA. Should NASA blame China or the economy or the Germans or what? And now comes the kicker. If you thought that this is already quite ridiculous, it gets even worse. The committee increased funding for the HLS by $100 million to $1.295 billion for fiscal year 2022, and now the very intelligent Senate Appropriations Committee writes, quote, "Using this funding, NASA is expected to ensure redundancy and competition, including robust support for research, development, testing, and evaluation for no fewer than 2 HLS teams." End quote. Oh, man. Okay, so NASA should choose a second moonlander for the Artemis program from these very generous $100 million. Wow, this is so generous. You know, the national team lander bid stood at $5.9 billion, okay? And the Dynetics team lander stood at $9 billion. So how exactly do these people imagine NASA paying the difference from $100 million to $5.9 or $9 billion? How? I mean, this is really a joke, and in my opinion, some politicians have probably been lobbied so hard that it must have created some permanent brain damage. And then they released a completely nonsensical statement just to squeeze in a second moonlander, even if it doesn't make any financial sense whatsoever. I really don't even want to know what went on behind the scenes for that decision to be made. But luckily the bills have not been enacted yet, but they will serve as a starting point for negotiations with the House on a final spending package later this year. So there is a good chance that these idiotic clauses will not be in the final spending package, but if these bills really will get enacted, then it will be the absolute confirmation that lobbying really works, and I don't want to know how hard Blue Origin has lobbied for that, and that politicians do not care at all about space exploration. This would be the utter confirmation. And talking about politicians and lobbying, this offers the perfect chance to switch to another darling of politicians in the Senate Appropriations Committee, namely the SLS. Ah, wonderful. How amazing is this piece of machinery that creates so many jobs in the USA, in so many different states, where so many senators have such a high interest to keep this jobs program going on. And this jobs program has now actually achieved a milestone. I know, right? After only 15 years of development time, if you count from the old Constellation program, this thing has finally been fully stacked. Wow, complete with Orion capsule on top and everything. So now we have a launch time frame, namely February 2022. And what does launch? Well, this will be the Artemis 1 mission, an uncrewed round trip of the Orion spacecraft around the moon. This is a Pathfinder mission for the first real Artemis moon mission, namely Artemis 2 in 2023, where a crew of 4 astronauts will circle the moon in the Orion spacecraft, basically a repeat of Apollo 8 from 1968. Awesome! So NASA is back where it was 53 years ago. That's called progress, ladies and gentlemen. Joking aside, a lot depends on the success of Artemis, and I have to admit, at least the rocket looks okay, kind of cool. But I just wish it hadn't taken 15 years and tens of billions of dollars until we got to this point here. Until February though, still some tests will have to be performed on the rocket, namely interface verification testing, program-specific engineering testing, end-to-end communications testing, countdown sequence testing, and then finally the wet dress rehearsal testing. So there's still a lot to do, and I really hope everything goes well, because we can see with Boeing's Starliner what happens if things don't go well. This would mean a few more years of delays. That's why, even though I admit that I'm not a fan of the SLS, I would still be happy to see this thing launch. It will be really interesting though to see if Starship and Super Heavy will be able to reach orbit before the SLS. That would be really interesting. But I can imagine that they will postpone the first Starship and Super Heavy launch to after February 2022, so that the SLS will actually launch before Starship and Super Heavy. I can actually imagine that shit happening. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong and reason will prevail and Starship and Super Heavy will be allowed to launch in November. So I hope you enjoyed this somewhat more than usually sarcastic video, and sorry by the way for not uploading so often currently, but as some people here might know, I started a second channel on the topic of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, where I analyze charts and make some predictions about future price developments of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, link in the description. And because that apparently still wasn't enough, I also started a third channel about the history of the late Roman Empire, a topic which I always found utterly fascinating. Link to the channel also in the description for all those interested in a little bit of Roman history. So then, I wish you a nice day, all the best from Jishuan and me, and on to the future.